Sam Michelson is coming to my office. He flew in from Israel for a bunch of meetings. He does this fairly often. His company, 5 Blocks, specializes in online reputation management. He's been around in the space for, I think, close to 20 years or so. He was one of the sponsors for the XMX Israel shows that I used to host myself in Israel with a bunch of helpers over there, so he was very instrumental with that. I've known him for a really long time, super smart. One of his best friends, actually, that he hangs out with while he's here, lives literally behind my house. So it's a small world. And he is here for the weekend, so he's not staying. He's staying at his best friend's house. But he's stopping off at the office. It's like a Friday. This obviously video gets posted on Mondays, but it's a Friday, and it will be fun to talk to him. It's been a while since we caught up, and from what I remember, he's pretty entertaining, so hope you enjoy it. And it should be pretty educational as well. I'm not even sure what the topics are, but I assume online reputation management, maybe charging what you really should be charging. We'll see. I'll try to get him to talk about those 2 topics. Hope you enjoy it. Sam, thanks for coming here. Can you please tell people in this camera who you are? But first, a message from our sponsor. SE Rankings is a top-rated SEO platform designed to help agencies and businesses of all sizes automate their daily tasks and make data-driven decisions. You can get your 14-free-day trial at seranking.com. Check it out.
Hey, Sam Michelson. I am the CEO and founder of 5Blocks, and that is a digital reputation management company. We are headquartered in Jerusalem, Israel, and operate all over the world.
Cool. And I've known you for, not to say how old you are, but probably like almost 20 years. Not yet.
Something like that. Long
close
time.
To 20 years.
Yeah.
And you got into this. You started your own company, 5Blocks, in 2004.
Yeah. So I actually got started. It started out as a e-commerce company. I was selling cellular phones online. It was originally called You Never Call, and I was selling cell phones under an affiliate program, actually.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was good. It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And started with paid advertising on Overture and Google AdWords, or whatever it was called then. And over time, kind of developed the e-commerce business, and eventually got into lead generation, and eventually into reputation management.
And did you get into reputation management because you had reputation issues?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow. Can we get into that? No, you don't.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah. So
are you supposed to suppress that information? Not bring it up?
No. You know what it was? When you have an e-commerce, we were selling cell phones online. That was the big business, and we were selling 100 units a day, and we would get 1 or 2 complaints a week. So hundreds and hundreds of units, cell phones and plans, and we would get a very small amount of complaints, but since we weren't doing anything to bolster our own reputation, anytime someone would write a complaint, it would just be on the first page of Google. And so we started noticing that people searching our brand before they made an order would notice a complaint, and they'd be like, 1 complaint is enough to, oh, these guys sounds like a bad company. They have a complaint. So we were like, this is, so the first thing I did was just start writing checks to people like, oh, you didn't get your rebate? Let me write you a check. Let me give you a refund. And after a while, I kind of figured out that some of those people weren't even our clients. They were either competitors or people who had been rejected from because of credit for buying a phone, so they wrote a bad review. But in the process, we had to figure out how do you create an online presence that is not susceptible to 1 bad article or a couple of bad reviews, because it's kind of an outsized impact.
Right. Interesting. So you got into it based on your own need.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Interesting. Very good. And you are obviously born in America. You sound like it.
Yeah.
And you moved to Israel when?
Yes, I born in the U.S. in Pittsburgh, actually. Mm-hmm. Lived in a bunch of places. My dad was in the U.S. Army, so moved around a lot.
I didn't know that. Interesting.
Yeah. So I went to Yeshiva University in New York for college, and after college I moved to Israel, and so I've been in Israel about half my life, and went to graduate school there, went to the Israeli Army, and then worked in a bunch of technology companies after I got out of the Army, and so I got kind of a lot of the basic kind of online marketing skills by working in product management for tech companies in Israel.
Cool. All right. So I think when did we first meet? Do you know? Or you don't remember? I don't remember this type of stuff, but some people do.
Yeah, I'm
Some
not
people have good memories,
sure.
but it probably was around this XMX events in Israel.
Yeah, we definitely, we definitely, you were running those events, and I got a chance to speak on some panels there, and yeah. I remember
Yeah, I
that.
think you also sponsored some, I believe.
Could
Next time
be.
we have an XMX Israel, you're going to sponsor?
I'll sponsor.
It's on. It's on.
On record.
You can't back out of that.
If the food is as good as it was then yes.
Yeah, that was at the Imbal Hotel, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I almost brought it back, and then there was a massive, massive outbreak of
Right.
COVID. I'm
Right.
like, oh, forget this. Anyway, between COVID and other issues, and it's hard to do conferences in Israel.
Yeah.
But I appreciate your support. Any event, so you guys, in my mind, like I've obviously known you for a while. You seem to have like an interesting take on how to do online reputation management.
Yeah.
In that it's like you hear the commercials on the radio here. Do you ever Google your name? You have to call us and we'll make sure everything is good. And I'm sure there's like people paying, a couple $100 a month, not even. And you guys are like, you kind of like, the way you thought about it was, let's focus on real business, making sure we do offer professional services and charge a price point that we could do a good job, meaning you could do a good job for the client that's paying. So I know you are, over the years, have changed your business model from initially, and then you even got changed. You're constantly probably adapting stuff over the years.
Yeah.
And I wanted to first talk in this segment about your business and your agency, and then we'll get, for those who are watching that want to get tactical in this topic, we'll talk about tactics later. So one thing is, there's always this concept of client development. I am horrible at client development. I'm in charge of that for my company, but I'm just not, I'm very social online, but I'm not social in person.
Mm-hmm.
And I will send out a proposal, never follow up, ever. I will speak to somebody, I'll never contact them again unless they reach out to me. And that's probably, I'm doing it all wrong, but I'm okay with that. But you would be like, you would fire me if I was in charge of business development in your company. What are some of the things that you do on a day-to-day basis to, think about client development and operate that way? And what types of things have you failed at? And how you have improved that over the years?
Yeah. So very interesting. First of all, we didn't come with a grand plan. We were an e-commerce company, and then we started doing lead generation for some other companies, doing consulting, and had this issue. Decided that we needed to solve our own problem for our cell phone business, and started in. Actually, went to a bunch of the what I thought were the biggest SEO agencies. I went to a conference in New York. And I met with all the big agencies I could. And the value to me of getting our reputation in line was I was willing to pay tens of thousands of dollars a month for it, because I figured I was losing thousands of dollars a day. So I said to myself, well, I'm a pretty small company. The bigger companies must really see the value in this. And so my initial thought was, initially we were solving the problem for ourselves, and we figured out how, some really great ways to work that we thought were better than the other things on offer. When we started to think about, okay, how do we offer this to clients? Right away from the start, one of my colleagues who's worked with me for many years had the good fortune of having a college roommate who was a PR guy. And so when we started talking about this, I said, this is really, we need to talk to PR guys. We need to talk to someone who really knows PR, because it seems like this goes hand in hand with public relations. You're trying to, convey a certain story, that you need the online presence to match that. And so he introduced me to this old college roommate of his, and that turned into our first client. He referred to us our first client. So it was just really just trial and error. We said, we've got this this process and this idea of how to manage an online reputation, because we just did it for our own brand. We'd like to start offering this for other clients. And he said, well, I've got someone for you immediately. They've got a negative New York Times story that captures one issue, but it makes it look like the whole company is all that issue.
Right.
And we
that's the best way to start. It's just basically naturally. It's just
we thought of it as kind of an anchor client. We had a first client, and we learned we just saw if the things we were doing were satisfying that client.
And it's just the two of you.
And it was, well, no, we were already like 6 or 7 people, but this other guy was the guy who just made that connection. So
got it.
Yeah, we were a small company. We were still doing our cell phone business at the same time, and then but once we talked to that first PR firm in New York, we said, well, there's 500 PR firms in New York. I wonder if we can meet some more. And so we started to kind of systematically look and see on LinkedIn, who do we know that works in PR, and what kind of conversations can we have? What can we information can we share with them, and talk to them, learn from them. And that was kind of the beginning. So we never really had like a, let's do some promotion, let's advertise online, which is kind of funny because the whole business at that time point was several years in was all about online marketing.
Right.
We were looking for people who had a particular intent, running Google ads there, optimizing using SEO, our own website. And yet when we went to find our own clients, the kind of service we were offering, we're like, we don't think it's going to be easy to differentiate ourselves or to really communicate the value in the same way for ourselves online, which is really kind of funny that we did that.
I hear that a lot, actually. So especially from digital marketing companies, like we can't find the right client by advertising because we'd have to have that relationship coming from another high expense client.
Yeah,
that's interesting. So you basically did a lot of outreach through LinkedIn. We
did through LinkedIn and then through word of mouth. And I think that what was really good was we were talking about a topic people really cared about. We started talking about reputation management in terms of building reputation instead of just tearing things down. Usually you think of reputation, it's exactly what you said. It's like, you don't like the first page of Google results, we'll knock them out of the water. We'll lower this one and we'll subvert the algorithm so that they don't see that bad stuff anymore.
Right.
And we started talking about, well, you're a PR firm or you're a brand manager. What do you want people to see about your brand? And we started coming from a positive perspective. It was different. People thought it was interesting. And then we also, this is kind of interesting as well, is like, I think that a lot of SEOs will kind of hide their biggest secrets. Meaning if you've got a terrific way of creating traffic, which helps Google see something a certain way, or you've got a certain formula of that's the right formula for how you do linking. The last thing you'd want to do is start blabbing it to everybody because maybe it won't work anymore.
Right.
We did the opposite. We just said, you know what? Let's just share everything. Let's just tell everybody what we're doing exactly. And the theory for me was, sometimes I watch cooking shows because I like to eat. So I like to watch cooking shows. And when you watch a cooking show and they make this amazing dish, you can track everything they do, and that does not make you a chef.
Right.
Meaning, even if you know all the things I do, you don't have the tool set I have. You don't have a person dedicated toward it. And the things that you actually do in the moment are going to change because there's new information that comes in. So I was not fearful of sharing, and I think that was a little shocking to people. That like I would give a talk somewhere, and I'd be like, okay, here's the first thing I would do. Look at ownership. Look at and I was like, here's the analysis. This is how I would do.
Yeah, to me, it doesn't seem, because the SEO industry in general shares a lot, mostly because it's a content marketing, link building.
Right.
So they rather give up information to get the links so they can rank better.
Right. My experience has been though that people that are really amazing at different niches, they have certain processes and certain ideas that they use that are unique. And hopefully it's not 50% of what they do, but it might be 10 or 20%.
Right.
And it might be the thing. And I've always felt that like really almost nothing, like the more you tell people, the more you share, the more transparent you are.
Right.
There's some people will be like, oh great, I can just do this myself. So our proposals, when someone comes to us for reputation management, for a brand or an executive, our proposal will have in it like, it'll be 15 pages and it'll actually spell out what we saw in the peer analysis. Like it takes hours to write this. And we've had people look at it and go, why would you do this? This is like the game plan for the whole program. I'm like, so if this is what you needed, then you probably weren't going to hire us. All you needed was, if you think you can do it yourself once you have a game plan, then good for you. It's fine. And you'll get a certain way down the road with that. But most the kind of clients, especially when you go up the food chain, most of the bigger companies, when they hear someone who really knows the ins and outs and is sharing and is transparent, they're like, we want to hire this person.
Right.
Like,
so your close rate on those are pretty high, or?
That's an interesting question. I don't know how well we track it, but it's probably 50%. It's probably like 40-50%, I would say, on the high end. And usually when we don't close, it's interesting because it's almost all a referral business, and it's just that we've made tons of relationships with PR firms, and we support them when they have questions, and we do lunch and learns and webinars and things for them to train them and teach them. When they recommend us to a client, usually the client isn't really considering another firm. Like it's kind of like if you were going to do a big real estate transaction and you talk to your friend who did another transaction, they'd say to you, "This is a lawyer to use." You wouldn't necessarily go, "Well, is there a cheaper lawyer?" Is there, when I looked in the yellow pages, I found there's a better lawyer. Like this is the kind of thing where you go to a trusted advisor.
Right.
And so it's usually if we are if we're pricing appropriately. For the value that we're providing, and we've kind of approached it properly, and so it's the reason not to take it will have to do not with our pricing or not with the offering. It's just that it really isn't internally there isn't either there isn't a budget, or internally there's some pushback on doing this process for some other reason.
All right. So in terms of the client development side of things, so it seems like you're not using so much CRM software to keep it staying on top of
No.
this.
Well, this is a sore point. This is a sore point.